this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments, and I wanted to bring you a special edition kind of a layout design. This is just an idea that I was seen on Pinterest, and so not my original idea, but I am going to tweak it just a little bit to make it a little bit more my own. If you have a lot of scraps from projects, and I'm constantly running into this where I end up with a bunch of strips that are left over essentially from a project, this is a great idea to use up those strips. So you'll need about 11 1-inch strips of varying designs, and it helps if they are somewhat complementary to each other. So you'll notice I have a couple of red strips, I have a couple of almost the same tone brown strips, I have a couple of green strips that are kind of the same or similar, I have some wood related things, some prints that have green in them, that so they all kind of jive together, which is important. You're also going to need another strip that we're going to cut down, and we're going to use some other paper for some mats. So and then that should be pretty much all you need other than embellishments for this layout. So when you have these 11 1-inch strips, what we're going to do is we're going to cut them into 6-inch lengths, and you can do that really easy by stacking them. If they're all 1 inch, then you should be able to put 3 or 4 of them together and cut them all at once, and that way it's not laborious and time consuming. So let's just do that. We're gonna put these together, and these are almost the same. You can tell a couple of them they're a little bit wider than 1 inch, but you know what, that's okay. It doesn't for the purposes of this particular layout, it is not critical that they be exactly the same, but as close to 1 inch as possible. And we're going to save the other end. We're going to use 6 inches of it for this layout. We're going to save the other end for another layout on another page. So you can do a double page spread if you'd like of this, and you will already have the pieces. So this one you can see I have a lot of variance with, and I'm not sure how I did that, but somehow these pieces are definitely not as even. Like I said, when we put this together, you'll see that it's really not that critical, but it is interesting. I probably should be a little bit more careful in how I put my things together. All right, so here's our last 3, and actually the end of this one is not straight because I had cut it with a shaped blade, so I'm just going to square that off just a little bit so that it works a little bit better for what we're doing now. We're going to go ahead and cut this at 6 also. Okay, there we go, and that will go up there for the second page. I'm just going to show you how to do the one page, and then you'll be able to do a mirrored page if that's what you want to do. All right, so we're going to just take our adhesive and we're going to put these down, but before we do that, let's go ahead and kind of arrange them so that we know what order we want them in. It also will help us to decide if our spacing is the way that we want it or not. So I'm gonna just try to put kind of altering shades next to each other, if that makes sense. I don't want these two kind of orangey colored ones right next to each other. I don't want the two reds right next to each other. I don't want two that have a lot of green in them right next to each other. And thinking maybe we'll move this one over here to give a little more variety that way. Maybe we'll move this one. Just play with them till you find a design that you like. I think I like that. We've got green kind of evenly spaced. We've got the reds separated. We've got the woods kind of separated. Okay, I think I'm good with that. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to turn my page. So this is the center binding. This is the outside edge. I'm going to go ahead and adhere these down, and I'm going to put them flush with the top edge and leave just a little bit of space in between them. So I'm going to put this one all the way to the edge and all the way at the top of my page. All right, and then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. So this one's going to go all the way to the jeeping and all the way to the top of the page. I feel like that's crooked. Give me a second here. Find my, here we go. Because my adhesive got a little bit over the edge. There, I like that better, much better. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the center one. So I'm going to take my page and I'm going to put it on my grid on my desk. And I'm going to look and see, okay, where's my centerpiece? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this one is going to be my center. Okay, and this one, the center of my design is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This line right here where it says 14. So I'm just going to center that over my center line. Again, right at the edge, and put that down. And why do I do the outside and the center first? Well, because then I can more evenly space these in between, and I'm less likely to have you know, all the ones that I started with like super narrow and then have all kinds of space on this side, or have too much space between these and then not enough to put these on over here. So this just helps by doing the center and the sides first. It helps me be able to kind of visualize better how much room I actually have to put between each one of these. And then I'm better able to space them so that they will work without having to lift them up and redo. So you can do this with repositionable adhesive, and if you've never done this before, I would definitely recommend repositionable adhesive. That way you can lift them up very easily and move them around if you need to. But if you follow that little trick, you should be okay. Of course, you know, I'll put my money where my mouth is here in just a second when we get to the other side and see how I did. It's kind of a test sometimes to see. See, I probably should do just a little more space. So I'll just even out the amount of space between these, and it should be all right. This is also where you can see rather sharply whether your cuts are even or if they are maybe a little bit off in the way that you're cutting your paper. Because you will definitely notice if your cuts are a little bit on an angle, you'll definitely see it, you know, with a layout like this. So good incentive for as you're doing your other projects to keep your cuts as straight as possible, and that way your scraps are nice and tidy and able to be used for things like this. Okay, we got one more piece. This is the last one. I think you'll see that this layout actually is pretty quick because you've already got most of the pieces cut, so there's not a lot to it. Okay, so now I've got these lined up and adhered. I'm going to grab my trimmer again, and I'm going to grab a sheet of this similar paper. It's from one of those sets. This is actually probably 2 or 3 different sets I've got out here. And I'm going to put a bar of about 3/8 of an inch, so a little more than a quarter, a little less than a half. And this is what's going to go across the bottom of these rows. Don't put your trimmer too far away. I need my repositionable adhesive to put this one on because it's just too narrow and I don't want to fiddle with trying to be super careful with my adhesive. So I'm just gonna use the repositionable because then it doesn't matter, right? Okay, I'm gonna turn this to the side, and then that way I can line this up. And rather than trying to put it right along the bottom, which I could, but my pieces may not be all exactly the same. So I'm gonna put it just above that bottom cut so that I'm sure that it covers all of the bottoms of my papers. All right, so then we've got that. Now we need to make some mats to go on it. And the original design actually had some circles that went down here, but I don't have enough paper left over from these collections to go ahead and make those swags. But if you wanted to, you could cut some circles, and I believe these are, I would go with like a 2.5 inch circle and then cut it in half. And then you could probably fit 4 halves and then maybe a half on each side. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and use some wood paper that I got from a local craft store, one of the major craft stores in our area, because I don't have any left of my Creative Memories paper. Or otherwise I would just use my Creative Memories paper. And I'm going to grab my 0 centering ruler, and let's measure the amount of space that we have from this bar to the edge. So it looks like we have about 5 3/4. I don't want to go all the way to this edge or all the way to the top, so that means probably we're looking at about 5 1/4 tall. 5 1/4 tall would allow us to use a picture that was 4 3/4, so that would be fine. So 4 1/4 tall, or I'm sorry, we said 5 1/4 tall. I almost cut that wrong. Okay, so 5 1/4, 5 1/4 tall, And then we're going to divide this sheet to make 3 mats for the bottom here. And let's see, if we did a 4-inch mat, that would be exactly 12 inches. We don't want it to be exactly 12 inches. We want a little bit of space around each mat. So we want 3 3/4, and then we'll have a little bit of space. So 3 3/4, there's one. And I'm gonna flip this so that I can get these nail holes from the wood in on the other side. 3 3/4. So that's this one. And then this one needs to also be 3 3/4. Okay, and this piece is just extra. We'll throw up there. All right, and then we need a mat for the top up here. So let's try and use a full 4x6. We would need 6.5 by 4.5. So let's see if we have 6.5. We do, we actually have 6 3/4. Perfect. Okay, so let's measure this side at 4.5. And then we'll trim it just a little bit. And we'll make this 6.5 instead of 6 3/4. All right, so there's our mat for the top. Okay, and then we just need some embellishments. What would you put on a page like this that has a lot of outdoor scenes? We could put so the pictures that are going to go on this page for me are from Yosemite, and pictures from Yosemite these pictures have a lot of trees in them, the sequoia trees specifically. But I don't think I have any stickers left that I could use for that. But I could use this Explorer sticker that's up here. And then we could actually use this one also that says keep exploring. And we could use the wood sticker. Maybe we could put some animals on there or some arrows. Let's see. Okay, so these would be my 3, these are going to be my 3 main focal points for our embellishments. But let's go ahead and put these, papers down. And you can see that that's from the Paper Studio. They make some great acid-free paper. So we're gonna put these 4 mats down. And then if you, I'm using my repositionable adhesive, and that way I can move them if I need to, just in case I don't have these centered well enough, or I decide that I want to change up the layout just a little. And see, I am a little bit off with my centering. So I should have followed my own rule and done the outside ones and then done the middle one. If you don't want as much space between your mats or between these photos, you could make them a little bit wider so that you have a little bit more space. And actually, now that I look at it, this one needs to be scooted over just a smidge because I put the one on the right a little too close to the edge over here on this side. So we're gonna just fix that. There we go. All right, and then this one I'm just gonna put down with one little tiny bit of repositionable adhesive. That way, if I need to change something, I can more easily do that. When you put repositionable adhesive on colored or printed paper like this, I have found that it sometimes pulls the color off of the paper. So it's fine to put just a little bit right in the middle, because you know something's going to be covering that. Whether my picture goes this way or I turn it, it doesn't matter. There will be something there to cover it. So not worried too much. All right, and we're going to use some of these leaves because they all are similar colors to what we're working with here. Just checking to see what else we've got. Oh yeah, I forgot I pulled these other leaves off. Okay. So Explorer. There we go. Oh my goodness. The stickers are sticking really good to my fingers. Okay. Sorry, you might not have been able to see that, but I went to pull my finger away and it stuck right to it. All right, I'm gonna put some foam squares on this so that I can set it down without it sticking while I'm making final decisions on where it should be put. Probably one more right there. Okay, and I think this one is going to need to go right about here. Explorer. And then let's see, we've actually got Let's Go on an Adventure up here, and I put this here on the side on purpose so that I could use it as an embellishment if I wanted to. And I think actually I am going to do that. I'm going to set these stickers back just a little bit and consider something smaller for the lower part, and we'll probably just put an arrow. I've got a red arrow which will pull the red from Explorer and bring it up here to the top. Let me find another leaf. I'll use this one. And we'll put some pop dots on that, or foam squares, not pop dots, foam squares on that as well. I don't know, my allergies are getting to me, so I apologize for all the sniffing, but I've been sniffing quite a bit here lately. So we're gonna just sort of set this in here. Let's go on an adventure. We don't want to not see that, but we do want to add just a little bit of attention to that upper corner. And then I'm going to put just a little something down here. Maybe we could just put a bug crawling. There's a ladybug. That would be kind of easy, wouldn't it? We could put a ladybug on a leaf. Maybe what we'll do is, again, bring this kind of greenish yellow tone down here, and we'll put the ladybug on there as well. And by popping those up with foam squares, we will be in business. This page went together super fast. So I hope that you are saving your smaller but still substantial pieces of paper that you are cutting off, because you can still use them and make a really nice looking page. That's all I'm going to do, I think, to this page. I think that's going to be perfect. And I'm not sticking down my embellishments just yet because I want to make sure that this is the orientation I want for my photos. But this is super fun, and I hope that you will enjoy this layout and using up some of your scraps. In the meantime, I'm wishing you many more creative moments and hope you have a great day.